For some, June is a month full of pride or World Cup aspirations. But once again, we are keeping it real with another blockbuster show, finding out your opinions on superheroes, dog-laden assassins, as well as awkward moments when meeting a new partner's family. Not to mention our usual guests, interviews, live music, and competition. With all that to come, we better get started. So here is a clip from our first review, Roma. Alfonso Cuarón's Roma takes place in the Mexico City neighborhood where he grew up in the 1970s. Filmed in vivid black and white, Roma features long takes, the camera moving horizontally through a house, across fields, into the sea, down city streets, creating a sense of reality so intense it is almost dreamlike. The film's central figure is Cleo, played beautifully by Yalitza Aparicio, a woman of Mixtec heritage working for an upper-class family as a nanny and a maid. Surrounding Cleo is a world of political upheaval, seething student protests, marital strife, economic stresses, and cops in riot gear. In another film, these events would be center stage, but in Roma, they drift in the background, seen through windows, heard through open doors as Cleo strolls by or around, trying to manage her own life, enduring stress and doing her best. Roma is pierced with issues of class privilege, ethnicity, and resurrects a time and place, a whole era with details that sometimes overwhelm, like a wave roaring onto shore. Swarms of extras live out their lives in complicated vignettes unfurling behind the action, seen briefly as the camera moves by, gone in a flash. The city, the house, the village, all bristle with life. This is a very personal film for Cuarón, and Roma is both a determined act of memory and a work of powerful tribute. Slight caveat about Roma is that it is made by and for Netflix, to be consumed mostly on its own streaming platform. It has effectively been accused of suppressing the big screen identity of its own product, a sign of the potential future cinematic masterpieces that potentially will bypass the cinema itself. I don't want to take away from the film, so I will save that debate for another show. There is tragedy, comedy, and absurdity here, along with sublime mystery in its extraordinary set pieces. However, at its heart, Roma is a wonderful performance from Aparicio, who brings to the role something delicate, something stoic. She is the jewel in an outstanding film. Now, going from one woman's struggle to that of a team of Avengers, let's hear what you had to say about the latest Avengers film from the Trilly Omniplex.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Avengers Endgame. I thought it was really well directed, acted, and brought the story to a very nice conclusion.
I mean, what didn't I like about the movie? The pictures, the sound.
I did enjoy Endgame. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Is my mom going to see this?
Yeah, Stan Lee's last cameo really hit the strings. It was perfect, and yeah, you miss him.
Stan Lee's dead?
It was very emotional seeing Stan Lee for the final time, knowing that he wouldn't appear in the coming Marvel films, except for maybe Far From Home, but he's dead, so he won't really appear in the rest.
He's like my third father, you know? I mean,
The length of the film definitely did scare me, but I thought I'd have to go to the bathroom a lot during it, but my bladder control was just perfect.
The couple necking behind me, so fun watching them.
Great movie magic.
Documentary filmmakers often seek to pull you out of your world and into the world of their subject matter in order to understand their motivations and actions. Marcella O'Connor is one such example of a filmmaker that does just that. So before we find out more about her new documentary, Mama Cootie, here's a quick look.
Nigeria is a country that has been structured to profit those in power.
pass for my side. Yeah, the Fakalakutari.
To me, she was the one that actually started this Kuti legacy. You know, she jump-started it.
She handed over the letter of intent of independence to the foreign colonial government. This woman founded our government as it is today, and the military government murdered her.
This how this country be. That is how this country be.
And there you have it, a clip from Mama Kuti. Here we have the documentary filmmaker herself, Marcella O'Connor. Thank you for joining us today, Marcella.
Thank you.
So I suppose before we get into the film itself, can we get just a little more information from you about what got you into filmmaking? What started you on this journey?
Well, it was actually this film itself that got me into filmmaking.
Wow.
Because I had found out who Fumalaya Ransom Kuti was, and I thought, this is a great story, it needs to be a film. So I tried to convince other people to make the film for me, and nobody would, because, I mean, I didn't even work in film at this point, so I was just some kind of crazy randomer, you know? But then I was like, all right, fine, nobody's going to do it for me. I will make the film myself. So that's what I did.
Wow. And what specifically about the story of Mama Kuti compelled you to start this journey?
I think that women are kind of often left out of history. You know, when you read history textbooks, it's all like men making wars or documents, treaties, whatever. But actually, women do a lot of the groundwork and they don't get their credit. So I was just fascinated by that she's basically the founder of her country. She's like Nigeria's Thomas Jefferson, but she doesn't really get credit for it. And it's just, it's an incredible story.
Okay, fascinating. So can you tell us a little more about Mama Kuti? It's my first time hearing her name. What's her story?
Well, she grew up when Nigeria was still occupied by the British. Okay. And she started organizing market women's unions to protest, because the local king was just a puppet of the British colonial government. So she eventually led 50,000 market women to his house, camped outside, and didn't leave until he abdicated. And he actually had to leave the country because he feared for his life after these uprisings. And her market women's unions spread throughout Nigeria. She ended up talking to women's unions in China, Poland, the United Kingdom, and she was eventually on the committee that negotiated Nigerian independence.
Fascinating. Can you tell us a bit about the process of making this film? How did you get funding, first of all, and from there, how did you make the film?
Well, we got some development funding from the Irish Film Board. And with that, we were able to make 2 trips to Nigeria and 1 to New York in order to interview various family members, because a lot of her family members are also like highly accomplished people. They're the kind of people who are going to be important in Nigerian history in the future, you know. So like her son Fela was probably Africa's most famous musician. All her family members are activists. Her nephew is the first Nobel Prize winner in Africa. And 2 of her grandsons are also jazz musicians who are also activists.
Wow. Can you tell us a bit more about those trips to Nigeria and the trip to New York? What did you record and how was it? How was the experience of working in another country?
Well, I actually really loved working in Nigeria.
Wow.
People kind of told me horror stories before I went over. So I was really nervous before I went. I was like, I don't know, because I had read Nigerian novels. So I was like, okay, I know that they're eating a goosey, but I don't know what a goosey tastes like. I was like, should I pack a suitcase full of granola bars just in case? But when I got there, it was fine. You know, it's just a really lovely country. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
A lot of history.
Yeah.
A lot of music, fantastic music scene. Great literature coming out of Nigeria as well, and really fantastic film scene as well. I accidentally ended up on a reality television show my first time over.
Interesting. Can you tell us a bit more about that? How did you?
Well, because our fixer is also a television presenter, and she was doing the show about women who were working women, and they were also living together. So she kind of like pulled me aside. She was like, I kind of need to film a scene where I'm at work. Would you mind? And I was like, go for it. So.
Wow, interesting insight. And how would you say their industry compares to what you'd be used to working here?
Well, they can shoot a feature in 9 days in Nigeria.
Wow, a good feature?
Well, a Nigerian feature. I mean.
Okay, so an amazing feature.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Brilliant.
like, it's a lot of 2-camera stuff. You have to
Really,
work
yeah.
quickly.
And
basically.
in terms of the kit, are they spec'd up or what
Oh
kind
no,
of
they've got, you can get anything.
And
Anything that you can get here. On the reality show, they were shooting on all FS7s.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
very comparable.
It's
to what
like,
we do.
I know Nigerian film has kind of a reputation from the 90s when
Yeah.
everybody was filming on camcorders.
Of course,
and the
DV
sound
and
was
all
crap.
that, yeah.
But actually, it's gotten a lot better.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Tell us about the process of being a documentarian. How does it challenge you? What do you think is the main challenge trying to tell a story through archival interview footage?
Well, I think that the main problem with the main challenge if you're a documentary filmmaker is the budgets.
Okay.
Because people will throw millions at you to make a feature, but if you're making a documentary, they're like, "Oh, here's €10, go film on your phone." You know, they don't think that you need the production values, but actually you do.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge. And then, as you know, tracking down the archival, getting the permissions, the rights, tracking down people and convincing them to.
One last question.
Yeah.
You say you get the big budgets. Who would you have play Mama Cootie in a feature film?
Oh my God.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
I'll say Beyonce if you can't think of anyone.
Oh my God, let's go with Beyonce.
Beyonce
Amazing.
it is. Well, thank you very much, Marcella, for coming in. It's been fascinating talking to you about Mama Cootie, and I can't wait to see it later this year. So, right from reality to fantasy now as we head to Tralee Omniplex and see what last week's competition winners thought about our special screening of John Wick 3.
I've just come back from seeing John Wick 3, and the movie was phenomenal. I mean, I have never seen Keanu Reeves act as hard as he had in that movie. And I've seen every Keanu Reeves movie, including all the pornos. Absolutely fantastic.
I enjoyed John Wick, but I wasn't a big fan of the animal cruelty.
Yeah, I really enjoyed John Wick 3. I thought it's the same thing that you've seen the last two movies, so who doesn't like more action and stuff like that?
My least favourite part of the movie was that there wasn't enough denim jackets.
My favourite moment in the movie was when the dogs started getting more into it. They started killing people, they started taking action and everything. They were really going up against their oppressors, and I think that the fact that they could handle guns was a miracle in its own right, so I can't wait to see more of that.
I'll be calling ISPCA afterwards.
The least favourite part about the movie was that there wasn't enough cats for the dogs to kill. Dogs pretty got intense with the cats got into it, but it was really the humans that got the worst slash of it, but I think the cats should have gotten more of a beat down, but that's about it.
That's it for part 1. Join us in part 2 for more movie magic.
I remember when I was a kid. John Joe Murphy's. John Joe Murphy's. Huh. The tide is coming in. John Joe Murphy.
Mom, I said I didn't do it. Why are you calling? John Joe Murphy's.
John Joe Murphy's.
Come on, Mom. I said I didn't hit the cat.
John Joe Murphy's. The banks are open. It's time to make that one lodgement. John Joe Murphy's.
She's on her feet all day. She never gets a break. That ain't no way to treat a lady.
Most eggs in Australia are laid by hens confined in battery cages. Let's make cage eggs history.
Meeting a partner's parents is always a daunting experience, and Get Out is a prime example of how off-putting an experience it can be. Here's a quick clip.
Get out.
Sorry, man.
Okay. Get out! Yo! Yeah! Yo, chill, man. Get out! Chill! Chill, man! Chill!
Get Out is the directorial debut of Jordan Peele, which premiered in a secret screening at the Sundance Film Festival. Get Out opens with a fantastic tone setter. A young man is walking down a suburban street, joking with someone on the phone about how he always gets lost because all the streets sound the same. A car passes him by, turns around and slowly starts following him. It's an otherwise empty street, so the guy knows something is wrong. The intensity of the situation is amplified, and we are thrust into a world in which the safe-looking suburbs are anything but. Cut to our protagonist, Chris, and his girlfriend Rose, preparing to go home and meet her parents. Rose hasn't told them he's black, which she blows off as no big deal, but he's wary. Get Out is a slow burn of a film for its first half as Peele piles up the clues that something is wrong. Or could Chris just be overreacting to everyday racial tension? Peele's greatest gift here is in the way he walks that fine line, staging exchanges that happen all the time but imbuing them with a greater degree of menace. Then Peele drops his hammer. The final act of Get Out is an unpredictable thrill ride. As a writer, Peele doesn't quite bring all of his elements together in a climax in the way that I wish he would. But he proves to be a strong visual artist as a director, finding unique ways to tell a story that goes increasingly off the rails. The insanity of the final act allows some of these satirical, racially charged issues to drop away, which is slightly disappointing. He's playing with so many interesting ideas when it comes to race that I wish the film felt a bit more satisfying in its payoff, even if that disappointment is amply offset by the pure intensity of the final scenes. Get Out is not a film that takes breaks for comedy routines, keeping us on edge and uncertain from the opening scene to the final one, using an easily identifiable racial tension to make a horror movie, amplifying fears already embedded in the human condition for the purpose of movie horror. Even if the second half doesn't quite fulfill the promise of the first, Peele doesn't just deserve credit for trying something so daring. He should have producers knocking down his door to see what else he's never seen before. Time to get out of this review and into our competition. Right then, it's competition time once again, and this week we have a brilliant prize for any real film fan. A month's passes for two to any Omniplex cinema in the country. To be in with a chance to win, all you have to do is answer the following question. Which Marvel movie has the highest grossing opening weekend at the box office from the following three? Is it A, Captain America, They'll Pay for the Wall, B, Avengers Endgame, or C, Captain Marvel? C, we aren't sexist. If you know, then tweet the show at Keepin It Real or call 01 573 6125 with your answer. As always, you have a week to enter and winners will be announced on the Keepin It Real Twitter page or by phone. Good luck. Watching a film is as much an auditory experience as a visual one. Sound can be used to create emotion and atmosphere, leaving a lasting impression. Sound recordist and composer Seamus Slemon is here to discuss such auditory moments that have impacted him. Welcome to the show, Seamus, and thank you for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
So, to begin with, we have your first movie selection, which happens to be Steven Spielberg's 1993 monster movie epic,
Jurassic Park.
From this movie, we'll take a short clip. So there we have a clip from Jurassic Park. I suppose to begin with, Seamus, can you talk a little about the clip in question that we've just seen? What it is about that clip that stays with you?
Yeah, so it's when Sam Neill first sees this valley full of dinosaurs, and it's a prime example of using the sound to sell the image. It's a movie about dinosaurs, and if they want us to believe in these CGI dinosaurs on screen, they need to sell it with the sound, and it's a really good example of the sound department, I guess, coming up spades, really. There's like a whole symphony of dinosaurs that they bring up just as he's noticing, you know, he's so enthralled with this one dinosaur, this Brontosaurus, that he forgets to look in that direction and realize there's hundreds of them.
And can you talk about how they use pioneering technology to create the sounds of dinosaurs we've never heard before?
So it's a classic case of sound design. So if you're working in sound design, you're creating sounds that don't have a real world counterpart, a bit like the lightsabers in Star Wars. So what they did that was genius was they took animals that we have today on the planet and they messed them up and layer them. They mixed a giraffe with a lion. They mixed a hippo with a donkey.
Wow.
Slowed them down, sped them up, and created sounds, creatures that we have never heard. And they may be wrong. For all we know, dinosaurs cluck like chickens. But it's just amazing how they sold the whole thing.
Absolutely. Movie magic in its finest, I suppose.
Yeah.
I suppose it's a great opportunity to segue to our second selection. You talk about creating sounds for creatures we've never heard before. Your second selection does just that. Can you please introduce your second film, Seamus?
So yeah, it's the Mines of Moria scene from Lord of the Rings.
Excellent.
Where the heroes are escaping and taking a kind of a detour under the mountain.
Perfect. We have a clip lined up. Enjoy.
Soon, Master Elf, you will enjoy the fabled hospitality of the dwarves. Roaring fires, malt beer, red meat off the bone. This, my friend, is the home of my cousin Balin, and they call it a mine. A mine!
A scene there from Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. The Balrog, a creature that never has existed, to my knowledge. How did they create that sound, Seamus?
So they used, first of all, they layered fire, bonfires, crackling, furnaces, layered up like 20 recordings of flames to create the sound. So whenever the Balrog opens its mouth, its sound, its voice is flames and cinders and crackling. They also used a technique called worldizing, which Walter Murch pioneered. And it's where you take your recordings and you play them really loud through a PA system, and they actually use the dam. It's the same dam that was in The Fugitive, you know, where they get lost and they're trying to get out. So you just pump your sound down this ginormous tunnel and then record it at the other end with a microphone. And that's how they worldized or created this believable sound in this gigantic mines.
Wow. And are there any other particular soundscapes, sound designs that have made an indelible impression on you over the years?
Both Blade Runners.
Wow.
Actually, specifically Part 2.
Really?
Just blew me away.
And what specifically, given the technology
Simple
has moved
things
along?
like there's a scene at the start where there's a kettle on a stove, and that, like, I was blown away just by that.
Wow.
Just the sound of the kettle boiling.
What was different about it
It
this
was
time
just so
round?
beautifully layered and so nuanced. You know, you can just tell somebody put a lot of care into that simple shot of a kettle boiling.
Yeah.
And just in the cinema, the atmosphere that they created, it was very manga.
Yeah,
Manga is notorious. If you watch manga cartoons, the sound is so nuanced and so detailed.
Yeah.
So is the visuals, but it's, you know, you could just sit there all day listening to manga.
Amazing.
And learn so much.
Another sound design, if we can just close up, your thoughts on RoboCop specifically?
RoboCop, again, something that never existed. In the movie, they tease us with shots from his perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So you see them, you know, tweaking him. You know, we've managed to save his arm. A guy says, no, lose the arm. Let's make him 100% prosthesis. But it's that moment when they bring him to the police station and unveil him to everyone. The sounds, if you just, you know, close your eyes and just listen to it with headphones, it's just mind-blowing.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you very much, Seamus. It's been fascinating talking to you. Right back in a flash with our live performance from Two Tall Guys.
Papa loves mambo, Mama loves mambo. Having a fling again, younger than spring again, feeling that zing again. Wow! He goes left, she goes right.
Papa's looking for Mama, but Mama is nowhere in sight. Papa loves mambo.
Mambo, Papa.
Mama loves mambo.
Book your 2018 Villa holiday now. villaplus.com. Always adding extra. At all protected.
to work.
At Pilgrim's Choice, we hand select our cheese for flavour, and we love it when you do too.
Thanks again for keeping it real. We shall see you next week with more from the silver screen. Remember to enter a competition, and here's your play us out with Drown the Ego, Two Tall Guys. Take it away.